Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. I'd like to welcome you to my tutorial on creating your resume with HTML and CSS. Um, this is primarily for the people in my XML for Libraries course at UWM, but other people may find their way here, and you're welcome to join us. We will be, because this is an XML class, and this is our first opportunity to use the Oxygen XML editor, which we've already learned how to install in a previous tutorial. We're going to be concentrating on the XML aspects of what we're doing. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting up the Oxygen XML editor, which I'm doing. And I happen to be working in my Windows virtual machine. I typically work on my Mac, but this is just what I have handy. And the product, the Oxygen XML editor product, works about the same on both platforms. So, going to get it started. Okay, and we'll just close that. And here's an XML document I created when I did the installation. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, now in my assignment instructions, I tell my students that I want them to create a file with a certain name and in a directory of a certain name. So I'm just going to go and create that infrastructure. So I'm going to open up the File Explorer here. Seems a little sticky this morning. And under Documents, I've got something called My XML Docs that I created before. So I guess I can put it under there. And the name of our assignment in this case is Resume 1. So I'm going to create a directory, a new folder, and it's supposed to be called Resume_1. Okay, so I have that. And I'm going to create two new files in that. That's going to be resume.html and resumestyle.css. But I'm going to create those using the editor itself. I just wanted to have the directory out here. So I'm going to minimize that. So I'm going to go back into Oxygen and go up to the menu, click on File, New. And I don't want just a plain old XML document. I want some kind of HTML document. And there is a little folder here in the dialog for a new file, for a new document. So if you open that, you'll see a lot of different kind of templates for documents. And there's one for HTML. And let's just use that one. Okay, so we're just going to click on HTML and say create. Okay, and what we're getting is an XHTML 1.1 document, or maybe XHTML 1, and that's pretty good. I mean, probably in our XML class, we might go a little bit further than this in terms of our taste in which XML standard we want to use, but we're not gonna worry about it too much here. So now we can see on the editor tab, it's now called untitled1.html, and we're going to do a save as. So file, save as, and we have our resume1 directory. So open that, and then instead of untitled, this is supposed to be called resume. And I don't have to tell it what the extension is. Okay, the extension should come out automatically as .html. Let's see if we get that. And we do. If you look up, the tab has the file name on it, resume.html. So that looks like a good start. Okay, now we need a style sheet to go with this because we just want to show that we can use an external style sheet. So how are we going to do that? Well, it's another file. So File, up on the menu, New. And again, under this New Document folder in the dialog, there's an option for CSS. So we're just going to create CSS. Okay? And again, we want to save it with the right name. So let's say at the menu File, Save As. Okay. And I've said in my instructions for this assignment that we want it to be called resume_style.css. So let's do that. Resume_style. And again, we're not going to type in the file extension because the product is going to add that on when it does the save. And we can see here we've got resume_style.css. Okay, that's good. Now, I'm going to show you one of my tricks, which is how do we know that we have sort of connected the plumbing between the HTML page and the CSS style sheet? Well, what I typically do is I do something very simple. I make a style rule for the body element. And I give it a style by saying background pink. Okay? So, and I'm gonna save that. So if I properly connect up with this style sheet, I'm gonna get a pink background, which is gonna be pretty easy to detect. Okay? So let's go to the resume. And right now we don't have really any content at all. So we want to have a title, and I want to have as the title for the HTML document, I want to have my name and then resume. So Kevin Trainer resume. Okay, and then in the body, let's have some divs. Okay, so let's use the div element and say class equals header. Okay, so this is where we're going to have our header information. And then inside of that, right now, the only thing we're going to have is one heading in H1, the biggest kind of heading, and then let's just have our name, Kevin Trainer. So when you're following along, you certainly don't want to be me, so you'll be wanting to use your own name. Okay? All right, so let's save that. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to look at this in the browser, okay? And that's pretty easy to do. All we have to do, in addition to being an XML editor, and of course, what we're using here is XHTML, so it's the XML compliant version of HTML. So in addition to be able to use the product as an editor, this product is more accurately termed an IDE, an integrated development environment. So we can write code and we can also test it. So if we want to test this document by opening it up in a browser, now we can go up to the toolbar, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th icon here, which is sort of a sheet of paper with a globe on it, says to open the file in the browser. So I'm just going to click on that. And here's our page. Okay, and we can see we're using Internet Explorer in this case. And so we get a tab with the title, Kevin Trainer Resume. And we have just an H1 Kevin Trainer, and that's fine. And we've not connected it with the style sheet. And we know that because our background is in pink. Okay? So that looks pretty good. So I tend to not hang on to those copies of the browser. I just close them because it's pretty easy to open them up again. So how do we connect with the external style sheet? Well, we do that within the head element of the HTML page, and we do that with a link element. So we say link, and we say, let's see if I can remember all these possibilities. So we're going to say rel relation equals style sheet. Okay, and then we're going to say type equals text, T-E-X-T, not T-E-S-T, text slash CSS. Okay, and then we're going to say href, which is going to point to the file. And interestingly, it shows us the two files that are in the directory, and one of them is our style sheet. So we'll just click on the name of that, resumestyle.css, and it puts that in there. And there we go. And now we need to, typically, the nice way to create a link element in XML is to have it to be an empty element that only has a start tag. So we're going to finish up with a slash greater than. So that says that it's an empty element. Okay, because we're not enclosing any text. Okay, let's save that. Okay. One thing I'd like to do is I'd just like to check this to see if it's well formed. When we did the tutorial and we installed the product, we did a little XML document, which you saw a few minutes ago, and we checked it for well-formedness. Does it meet the rules for a proper XML document in terms of syntax? And I don't know what I did there, but it was bad. Okay. And we want to go up to the check mark to take the drop down and pick check for well-formedness. And you can see that we get a green box at the bottom of the screen. Document is well-formed, so that's good. And you might remember that in this editor, if it's not well-formed, for instance, if we left off the end tag on the H1, you are going to get red squiggly underlines to complain that it's not well formed. So I'm going to do Control Z here to back up and put that back. And of course, now it's well formed again. Okay. The other thing I can do is I can just click on this red check mark. That checks it for validity. We are up in our doc type, up at the very top here, we are pointing to a schema for the version of XHTML that we're using, and it will check it against that schema. So why don't we validate it just like that? And if you look down the bottom, we've got a green square, and it says document is valid. So that's good. All right, so let's go up to the toolbar again and click on the sheet of paper with the globe and open this document in the browser and hope that we get a pink background. And we do. So this is what I call my plumbing trick, because I've seen people trying to coordinate a style sheet with an HTML page, and they think they're connected, but they're not sure, and they don't know if their style rule's working. And my trick is the first thing that you put in and you test is just really obvious. It's either connected or it's not. Okay. Now, I don't really want a pink background, but I just wanted to be able to do that. Okay. So let's close this. And let's go to the style sheet and let's do a couple of things. Now, I don't want the background to be pink. I'm kind of okay right now with it being white. Okay. I don't like the default type style though. So I'm gonna pick another font family. So I'm gonna say font family. Helvetica, Arial, Sans Serif. So these are three choices that will get us type without serifs. Okay. And then maybe I'm just going to pick a font size. So let's say font size. I want the default font size to be, let's say 12 point. Okay. So let's see what that looks like. We should get slightly better looks. So now, how do we do this? I'm on the style sheet. Well, I have to be on the HTML page to test it. So click back on the tab for the HTML page. Click on the icon to bring up the browser. And we're back in the browser, and we've got kind of cleaner type. You know, we don't have all those shoes and hats on the type, which kind of drives me crazy. Okay, so we've got my name. When I look at the requirements here, it says I want my name, my contact information. Okay, so let's just put in the contact information. And again, I'm trying to make this kind of simple because I'm just kind of practicing the mechanics with this assignment. So the container I have that holds this header information, I have an H1 that has my name, and I want the rest of the contact information there. So I'm going to create a P for a paragraph. And then within the paragraph, I'm just going to put my address, 4565 Jenna Road. And now I'm going to have to insert a break, BR/ for an empty break element. Glenview, Illinois, 60025. And let's put another break at the end of that. And let's put my phone number there. So let's put my phone number. Let's put something like this. Let's say mobile. And I'm going to put my phone number there. So, okay. So that's it. That should take care of that. I like the mobile here. And maybe what I want to do is, let's say I want the mobile to stand out and look a little bit different. So I'm going to set the mobile into italics. Okay. I can do this two different ways. I can start the I element for italics right in front of the text that it's supposed to be in. But now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut that and paste it after the text. Okay. Now, if I back up, it turns out there's an easier way to do this with the Oxygen XML editor, and that is if you have a block of text, even if it contains markup, start tags and end tags already, you can enclose all of that text in further markup by highlighting it. And then depending upon your platform, if you're on Windows, you're going to want to hit a key sequence Control E. If you're on a Mac, you're going to want to do Command E. So here I'm on Windows, I'll do Control E. And it says here, this is the tag it's going to enclose it in. It wants to enclose it in an A tag. Well, I want to enclose it in an I tag. So I just type over that and I click OK. And whoosh, okay? It put start I before the text and end I after the text. So let's give that a save. All right. And let's go up and fire it up in the browser again. And so we can see that maybe the spacing isn't what we're looking for, but we have the information that we're looking for, and we seem to be able to use the editor fairly well. Okay. Now, I just want to point out that browsers are fairly tolerant of HTML documents that are not valid. Okay, so we currently have a well-formed and valid HTML document. How do I know? I can just click on the check mark and it will validate it. And something that we're going to learn about validation is that there really are two measures of goodness in an XML document: well-formedness and validity. And validity implies that it's well-formed. So the rules of XML are such that the parser that does the checking for validity against a schema won't even check it against the schema if it's not well-formed. So if we click on this and it says it's valid, we know by implication that it's also well-formed. But let's say that we broke the document. Okay, so we got rid of the end tag on the H1, and why don't we save that? And just to confirm that it's broken, you can see the red squiggly lines here that indicate that it's been broken. But if we validate it again, validation failed two errors, and then there's a list of the errors, which are really well-formedness errors, okay? But we've already saved that. Let's try to fire that up in the browser. Well, let's see. We didn't end the H1 tag, so the whole thing became an H1. But, we got output. So something that you're going to find is that browsers are pretty tolerant of broken XHTML documents. That doesn't mean that you ought to give it to them, right? If you want to conform to web standards, what you really want is a valid XHTML document. But the fact that it's going to open in the browser, browsers kind of have the spirit of keep on keeping on. They'll try to display something regardless of how bad your document is. But that doesn't mean that we want our documents to be bad. So let's go back in and undo with a Control-Z here. Let's undo that change, save it. I'm going to check it again for validity, and it's valid now. And if I fire that up in the browser, well, now it's back to looking as I'd like it to look. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so we've got the name and contact information. Now I'd like some information about my employment. Okay, so let's do that. Now, how could I do that? Well, in these HTML documents, these major sections are typically put into div or division elements. So we've got the first one. Let's give a little room there. That's the header information. The second one, let's create another div. Okay. And let's say the class for this is equal to, well, let's say employment. Maybe we want some special styles in the employment section. Okay. Okay, and just while we're here, let's create a third one for the third thing that I asked you to do, which is education. So div class equals education. Okay. Well, didn't want to do that. Education like that, and then end the tag and do that. So that'll be the last one. Okay. So let's do the following thing. Let's assume that each job that I have is going to have a heading that maybe has the name of the employer, and then it's got some text that comes after that in a paragraph. Again, pretty simple stuff. Okay, so I want it to be a smaller heading than I'm using up top, so I'll make it an H2. And my current full-time employer is the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee. Okay. And I'm going to maybe have some employment dates that go with it. So let's have an H3 immediately under that. Okay. And maybe I'll say maybe 1/2014 to present. Okay. And maybe then I'll just have a paragraph in which I have text that describes Milwaukee job. Okay, and I'm gonna clean that up, and then let's say I've got another grouping. Okay, and that's going to start with an H2. And I have another job at the same time. I also teach at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Okay. And I've been teaching there, H3, from June of 2008 to present. And now I'm going to have some text. Text that describes Illinois job, Illinois teaching job. Had a couple jobs in Illinois. Okay, and then what's good? So let's just take a peek at this. What does this look like now? Well, let's fire up the browser and see what it looks like. Okay, so again, the spacing's kind of clunky. All right, but I'm probably going to be able to get this taken care of. And one of the things I'm realizing is that maybe I need something at the top of this section that says it's the employment, right? Okay, so let's do this. Let's maybe what we'd like to do is maybe at the very top we want an H2 that says employment. Okay. And then maybe these things I had being H2s or H3s. Now, here's the thing that you can do with the editor that I really like. Just take the start tag. I think you can do it with the end tag too, but take the tag that says H2. As soon as you change it to a 3, the end tag also changes to a 3. And then let's change this H3 to an H4. Okay, and then go down, change the H2 to an H3, change the H3 to an H4. And then I think we have our new typography approach. And we save that, and we fire that one up in the browser. And yeah, we kind of have the idea there. So again, we're probably going to have to fix the spacing of all this stuff with the style sheet, but we're getting the content out in the right order. And there's some, typographic differentiation that I'm liking. And I think I'm going to be able to make it look good. All right, let's get a little more content in. Okay. So, where are we? We've got another job, my consulting work. So we're going to have an H3. Okay, it's called Logent LLC. That's my consulting practice. And I've been doing that from H4 from May of 1999 to present. Okay, and then we've got a paragraph. I've got some text that describes Logent job. Okay. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm thinking that not only do I want to have the name of the employer, but don't I want the position as well? I probably do. Okay, so how do I want that? Well, sometimes I find it easier if I'm going to have 2 lines of title here to just put a break in the middle of the heading. So here, I'm going to break this heading here, BR/. Okay, so I broke that. And then let me say, what am I here? I'm a lecturer. Okay. And then let's take the next one. And let's put a break in that. And let's say I'm an adjunct lecturer. And let's take this last one here and put a break in that. Whoop. I like to put the breaks at the end of the line that are breaking. The browser, as it goes to render this, it really doesn't care. And then let's see here. I think I call myself a principal consultant. At least I do now. Okay. All right. Let's save that. Check it for validity and well-formedness and all this stuff. And everything's fine. Now, I'll tell you something that is interesting. When you begin to validate your XHTML documents, you'll discover some things that you were doing that broke the rules and you weren't really fully aware of it. Things like putting an ordered list inside of a paragraph instead of having a paragraph and having an ordered list that comes after the paragraph. Let's see if we can do that. We have a paragraph here, and let's create an unordered list. And then list item first. Okay? It doesn't like that. Okay? I did that for years before I began to use an editor that allowed me to easily validate my HTML. That's the way I think of it. I think of the list as being inside the paragraph. But the fact is that the rules say that we're going to have a paragraph, and then it's going to be followed by a list, and that'll be followed by another paragraph. So one of the interesting things about validating your, let me get rid of this because that was all gratuitous. One of the interesting things about validating your XHTML is that you'll learn a lot about the rules of XHTML that you thought you knew, that you were wrong about. Okay, so save that, validate it again. It's valid. Crank it up in the browser. And that looks good. So I've got the employer, the title in each case, and I've got the dates, and then I've got some text for the job. Okay. So let's see if we can close up some of the spacing here. Okay. So I want to close up the spacing in the header so that the contact information that's not the name is a little bit closer to the name. So let's see what we can do here. That's possible. So let's say that we have a rule for the class header, style rule for that. And let's say margin top 0 pixels. Let's say margin bottom 0 pixels. And let's see if that closes that one up at all. So go back to the resume tab and then click on the browser. Well, it didn't. Okay, so we've got to be more specific. All right, how are we going to be more specific? Well, let's take a look. Right now, we're saying that applies to all the text. So let's say that if we have a header, if we have a paragraph that's in a header, P for a header, okay, Let's see if that helps that at all. So we save that. And look at that. Is that any better? Nope, not any better. Okay. Let's say we have an H2. Now, something that I think makes it a little bit easy for me is when I have some kind of a container like the header, I will have a rule for it, and I'll give it a background. So background equal, nope, colon, and I'm going to use the hex code CCCCCC, which is just a very light gray. Okay, so now let's go back, crank this up, and now we can see where that is. Okay, so we see it doesn't have a lot of padding around it. That's kind of interesting. But we'll see how that is. And then let's take the employment, okay, and let's make that all one color too, okay. Let's use a little bit of color to help us. Okay, so we have a section called employment, a class employment. And these are not great colors, but let's call the background on that, let's just say we want that to be yellow. Okay. Now that's not a pretty color, but I don't want to remember the hex codes for pretty colors right now, so we'll see. Okay, so now we see all that together. Okay. And I would like it if these had some padding around them. Okay, so let's take care of that. So let's go and put some padding around the sections. Okay, so let's say padding 10 px. And let's put the same in the other guy. And there we go. And let's give that a run. Back to the HTML page, up to the browser. And now that it causes the backgrounds to merge, which is good. Maybe I don't have quite such a problem with the way that goes when it's looking like that. So the fact that my name and my other address and phone are kind of separated from each other, I mean, I could struggle in trying to find a way to make that work, but I don't think I really need to. Here, let's get some more text. So I happen to be at my LinkedIn profile. And what do I have? Well, I've got some text here from my LinkedIn profile for the Milwaukee jobs. I'm just going to take that and throw it in. So text that describes the Milwaukee job, just going to paste that in there. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here for my Illinois teaching job. And I got some text there. So I'm going to copy that for my LinkedIn page. Kind of cheating, but I've already done the work, so that's it. Throw that in there. And the last thing here is my, let me find my Logent page. I don't know why it doesn't want to do anything with that. Oh, I see. It is doing something like that. Sorry. And I'm going to put that right here. Whoop, got a little too much there. So highlight that and paste over that. Okay. Now, when you do copy paste, a lot of times you get a lot of text out to the right. Sometimes it's hard to get the indentation just right. The editor has a pretty printer feature that's quite good. So if you go up to this second level of toolbar icons, the one with the lines that are sort of indented, this is the pretty printing one. It says format and indent is its more formal name. So click on that. And what we've got here now is we've got a lot more room. Okay, now if I had a bigger screen that I'm currently using, you could probably see all of my content right here. Okay, I'm keeping this screen to a modest size so that I can do the video and not make the video too big. Okay, so I'm going to validate it. It's valid, which means it's well formed as well. Save it. Crank up the browser. Open it in the browser. So now we've got a lot more content. Okay. So I've got a long way to go here. I need to improve my styling in order to, well, I have to discover some better colors, among other things. I have some other things that I'd like to do. I've got to close up each of these job things. But in terms of what I really wanted to be able to demonstrate, I wanted to be able to demonstrate this just like it is. Okay. What have I got left? Well, if I go outside of Oxygen and I open up the File Explorer again, and I've got the resume one, and I've got inside I've got the resume document and resume style. If I double click on the resume, that's going to open in the browser. And it seems to be opening in Firefox actually, which is good. And again, it needs some styling help, but I'm well on my way. Okay. Then, for those of you who are handing in the assignment, you're probably going to want to make sure that you do the right thing for this. And what we want to do is we want to zip up this directory. So share with, send to compress zipped folder. So let's do this. And I have a way that we name it. I'm going to name mine trainer _Kevin resume _1. Okay, and this file that we have right here, the zip file with this naming that contains the resume1 folder and the stuff that's inside of it, this is what we are going to submit as the deliverable for our assignment. So I'm going to leave you to work on yours and do some more content and styling and just get the feel of the editor, get the feel of creating a document that conforms to the rules of XML. Get it used to being able to check your document for well-formedness and validity and do all that kind of stuff, and getting used to being able to fire up your document in the browser to test it. And I look forward to discussing this with you when we review our work in our discussion session. So until then, I'm going to say bye-bye.